Well, it is 9 p.m. and I'll call the April 1st, 2024 meeting of the Board of Supervisors to order. The first item on our agenda is approving the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Supervisor Jorgensen, seconded by the keeper to approve the agenda as presented. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Item 2, public comment. Anyone like to comment on any item that's not on our agenda? Anyone on the phone like to make a public comment? Hearing none, we'll move to item 3, review action regarding approval of the March 25th, 2024 minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the March 25th, 2024 minutes.
I'll second.
There's been a motion by Supervisor Jorgensen, seconded by Jorgensen, to approve the board's March 25th minutes. Now, there were 2 sets of meetings, so is that motion for both sets of meetings?
Yes, the public hearing and the open meeting.
They were, yes, there were 2 separate meetings.
Yeah.
All right. Any comment from anyone listening on the phone line? All those in favor of approving both the board minutes from March 25th, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Item 4, review acts regarding approval of claims.
I looked at the claims, I didn't see anything that stood out being appropriate.
I agree. I'll make a motion to approve claims as presented.
I'll second.
There's been a motion by Supervisor Jorgensen, seconded by Kiefer, to approve the claims as presented. Further discussion.
I was just supervisor Beaver.
Do I have it wrong?
Yeah.
Supervisor Kiefer made the motion.
No,
I did actually.
Jim did.
The claims.
He commented first and I then made the
Oh,
motion.
okay, all right, my apologies.
All right,
I'm good with either way. though.
Yeah.
Okay.
all right, and, there's a motion made by
Thank you.
Supervisor Jorgensen and seconded.
Yes.
All those in favor of the motion to approve the claims, stop, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion's carried. Updates on various boards and commissions and activities since last meeting.
I attended North Iowa Regional Housing Authority and kind of the ongoing thing and the major part of that meeting was the repositioning, which is they're considering liquidating some properties, not owning them, but having them privately owned and offer vouchers. Basically be a seamless transition for the people living there. They would receive vouchers, private take care of it. We have the one in Rockford and not all of them are being talked about, but that is one of them being talked about due to its location. They have issues with they go to repair the toilet, they drive to Rockford, there's nothing in Rockford and they get 2 hours windshield time to repair it, make a $40 repair, and it's not cost efficient. Whereas they could offer them, be sold privately, and we have a night consulting firm that's working with North Iowa Regional Housing Authority for that purpose to balance to see which is a good one to sell. So that's been an ongoing thing for 5 or 6 months, and seems like it's maybe reaching a more engaged conversation now. And also EMS council met on the 28th. That group of voting and non-voting members are all unanimous in like for the September ballot. I made some notes, but that's kind of their general consensus. They would like to get on the agenda. I have quite a few notes, but they'd like to get on the agenda, and I think they need to decide if they're what the tax revenue source is. I think is kind of the holdup, and so when that happens, I think they really want to know when when their target date is it gonna be September or November, which will be decided by this board. So, that's the two meetings I attended.
I attended the Floyd Mitchell Chickasaw landfill meeting last week, and they're having more meetings than normal because they're dealing with this expensive piece of John Deere equipment that they purchased that isn't working, and it's affected them to the tune of about $600,000. John Deere is asking them to sign an agreement that makes it an experimental piece of equipment with no warranty. They don't want to do that. And they considered suing John Deere dealer and John Deere, but it take years and a lot of money. So they're gonna try to come up with a counter offer where they accept it with a 3 or 4 year warranty or something. Right now, John Deere has a piece of equipment that we paid for and we can't get it, or they can't get it back, so it's kind of an ugly deal. But they're dealing with that, and then I also attended a couple of interviews, last week for, sanitary position. So that was my activities.
I also attended 2 separate interviews. We weren't at the same meeting. As vice chair, Supervisor Keeper attended 2 meetings. We actually were pleased to have he interviewed 1, 2, 4 people and had some real good response to this opening. And Dennis attended 2 of those meetings and interviews, and I attended 2. And there's also an agenda item that we'll be taking some action on a little later in today's meeting regarding that. I also attended a meeting of County Social Services in Tama, Iowa. And County Social Services is going to be disbanded by July 1st of 2025. And the legislature really hasn't passed that legislation yet. And I go to meeting after meeting, and all we hear is we don't know what's going to happen to our organization. So I guess it's just stay tuned. The legislature is still in session. Yeah. And so also earlier that day, I briefly attended a meeting of the Area Development Corporation. Then I had to go to Tama. They're meeting on the same day. And if that happens, again, I'm going to have you as the alternate attend those Area Development Corporation meetings in my place. It's too hard to get 2 places at once.
That's fine.
Yeah. And that is it. Oh my goodness. Item 6, update on law enforcement center courthouse project, including progress report.
I intend to meet with Corey Speaker, the city water superintendent, sometime this week. And try to resolve the hard water issue without having to spend a lot of money. I don't know if that's possible, but we're gonna meet and try to visit about it. I also sent an email last night to Jason McClendon about this unit. Yesterday, last week's board meeting and the 2 interviews I sat in on, that ran continuously. And they were supposed to come up with a remedy, and Jason said he was gonna be here this week. And but Young or Johnson Controls haven't done anything yet to try to come up with a remedy, so we'll see what happens there, but
They were supposed to be here last week, and I never got involved in it if they came.
yeah.
But it did shut off for a brief moment, Mark. When
Did you?
we were in our interview.
Already did it turn off. Okay.
The bell squeaked.
10 seconds.
Stop.
Yeah,
Nope.
Just-
Check that out.
Okay. Well, it's kind of an annoyance. They need to find a resolution. So that. Do you have anything other than that?
I know, Mark, we talked about how frequent we want this on the agenda. We want to keep it when we have some, we've been reporting the same things. And no answers, do we want to keep it on the agenda every week, or do we want to? Only when you've got some progress with quarry, for example, or?
Yeah, if we have some news about what's gonna happen, it's an agenda item, but just. We don't know, we haven't had a meeting with anybody, but there's not much to discuss, I guess, on that. If that's the only thing we're talking about, there could be other issues regarding any number of other things. In my mind, this project is complete till we get that room set up. We're making great progress upstairs on all the plaster work we're doing. We have to have a cutout for handicapped access to get to this building. There's probably some signage that needs to be done, and maybe we need to focus on some of those other little things as kind of a wrap up on, because we keep talking about the law enforcement center courthouse project. Just like to finish this and maybe address some of those other issues that. Is there anything else on that at this time?
No, don't have anything on that.
Okay. Item 7, review and action regarding the communication tower agreements with Omnitel. We had good discussion on this issue last week. And we asked Spencer to break that contract up into 2 separate contracts for us to consider. And he has done so. Including the $25,000 one-time charge that was combined into one contract, and he broke that out and can explain more about that. Spencer, would you like to address these 2 contracts? Sure, thank you.
So we split the contract into 2 parts, contract A and contract B respectively. Contract A is specific to the link from law enforcement center to the I-6 tie-in with the Iowa State Patrol headquarters based in the city. We split the $25,000 non-recurring charge in half as well. Contract A only has $5,000, $20,000 with the contract B, just due to the amount of construction that's required for burying the fiber to the tower. That made up majority of the non-recurring fee. There is some cost to set up to contract A to the tower site based in the city, so that's why it's 5 and 20 versus 25 together. And then we split the monthly recurring fee from 2,000 into 1,000, 1,000. Because it's 2 circuits, and once the construction piece is done, there's a lot of similarities. We just split that in half.
It sounds to me like that satisfied our questions and separated the 2, so one could start prior to the other one when it's complete. And both these things, it allows for that communication from the tower over at the police department to be utilized sooner than.
Yes, so contract A has a start date of 7/1/24, and then contract B to the new tower site in Rockford is to be determined whenever the tower site is done, or January 1st, 25, whichever occurs first.
Any questions for Spencer? Comment?
I think the intent is to have the tower up before the end of the year. Hopefully, I mean, at one time it was the end of June, but I don't know, Jason's back there. Is that still kind of a target, Jason, the end of? Sure hope before the end of the year, yeah. So what about
Calendar
the,
year or fiscal year?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking fiscal.
I was talking fiscal year, June, the end of this June.
Oh. Right, yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
2024.
Yeah,
The tower,
okay.
June of 24?
the end of 24.
Like December.
December 24.
Right.
He's talking December, you're talking June.
I hope you're wrong. I hope it's the end of June.
It won't be.
No, but it, okay, but I understand. Okay.
Any other questions, comments, over these 2 agreements?
We need a motion.
Yes, we have 2 parts. So motion would identify approval of contract A and contract B.
Could be all one motion.
I think so. Yes,
I'll make a motion to approve contract A, contract B. Presented by Spencer Hertz, Bobby Tell. For the, regarding the communication tower agreements.
I'll second.
yeah, we have a motion by Supervisor Jorgensen, seconded by Kiefer to approve contracts A and B. With Amitel on our communications tower project. Further discussion? Comments from anyone listening on the phone line? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Thank you, Spencer.
Thank you.
Item A, review action regarding authorizing the chair to work with the Board of Health on an offer of employment for the environmental health specialist, zoning administrator, and 911 science position. There were interviews conducted with 4 applicants. As mentioned, I attended 2 of them, Supervisor Kiefer attended 2 of them. There was a representative, the chair of the Board of Health was there, as well as the chair of the zoning commission, Dean Jaden, and Gail Artis, representing the Board of Health. And we've got some good applicants, and the Board of Health has called a meeting today. And they will be discussing, actually, Dr. Kappa will be discussing with that committee, the applicants that were interviewed. And after 1 o'clock, if this is passed, the chair, myself, could join in on that meeting and could make an offer to a person after that. And that's the reason this is on the agenda. Kind of got to work this 2 ways because we are just a part of the job hire. In fact, the bulk of that is with the Board of Health. So it's kind of a 3-tiered job description. Am I explain that correctly, Carter?
Yeah, they intend to have a similar agenda item. Just reverse to work with the chair of the board of supervisors.
Their meeting is at noon, right? This one,
Well,
noon to 1.
And you will make that job offer today.
It could happen,
Good.
depending on the results of that.
Yeah. So 2 of you will decide on your app. Is that ready?
Well, Dr. Kapler will be discussing that with the Board of Health. And then they'll kind of talk about it and then this would authorize, because we have open meetings laws, it really gets interesting. You can't have all of us voting on that after that meeting.
True.
So that's the offer. It's only an offer,
Okay.
you know, and I don't know if that person will accept it or whatever, but this just authorizes.
At this point, you're both focused on one applicant.
There's actually a couple.
So what I'm wondering is,
There were some good applicants for this job. We're very pleased.
will you want to choose one and want to choose the other and stalled out? How does that work?
Yeah, that's what would happen.
Okay,
You're right. I don't expect that to happen.
okay,
Throughout this process, Auditor Carr did a really great job. She had a sheet of scoring sheet, and similar questions were asked of all the applicants, and everybody that was in the room scored those applicants. And so, at least I think we have a couple of clear candidates, and we'll see how that process works out today.
okay,
and it would also allow that if one of them, if you made an offer and one refused, then you could just go right into offering to.
right.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the chair to work with the Board of Health on an offer of employment for the environmental health specialist, zoning administrator, 911 besides position.
Second,
Have a, motion by Supervisor George Keeper and seconded by George Woodson. To authorize the board chair to work with the Board of Health on an offer of employment for the position of environmental health specialist on the municipal and 911 size position. Further discussion?
There's someone on the phone.
Yeah, we'll get to
That was an interruption. I don't
Oh,
think so.
yeah. Is there anyone on the phone that would like to make a comment on this motion before the board votes on it? And if that's the case, one way or the other, there could be an announcement this afternoon on this position. And we'll let everyone know. Those in favor of the motion, say aye.
I,
Aye. Motion is carried. All right, let's see, we're on to item 9, review action regarding the Allers Cooney invoice. Actually, there are 2 invoices. If you recall, at last week's meeting, we tabled this issue until today. There was just this morning, there was a additional item for your packet. That was just sent this morning. First of all, I want to explain the 2 invoices that we're actually considering for approval. And one's a little unique because the first one is for invoice 862496 for $340 for pipeline related matters. And when you look at that invoice, you'll see, going up here, you'll see this code number in the top right there is matter number 9. You see on the invoice? And that tells you that this invoice, I'll wait till you get it down on page 19.
and doesn't list page numbers anymore.
Oh, really?
No.
Like 18 is one. And when it cues in this number at the top, matter number 9, that means that invoice is specific to Floyd County. This is the invoice that's not being shared with the other 7, the total of 7 members that Allers is representing. And what this one was for an hour of Tim Whipple's time to respond to a question from me. We had a meeting, and I reported it in a meeting when we report on boards and activity meetings. We had a meeting, I met with officials from Summit. Jason Webster was there, and there was a meeting regarding plume modeling. And Summit wanted to discuss with first responders and a member of the board this document, which it talks about their emergency response tactical guidelines, their plans to implement any response to a leak or rupture and talk about plume modeling. And as we got into that with Kyler Lang, Kylie explained that we can't record that meeting. That we couldn't make a recording of that meeting, and I thought that's a little unusual. We're talking about plume modeling, something that I think everyone in Floyd County wants to know a lot more about plume modeling. And she's told us that because Summit considers this a threat to terrorists, that if terrorists found out the specific plume modeling for any section of this pipeline that they're proposing across Iowa, they could use that information and perhaps disrupt the pipeline. And so I wanted a little clarification from our attorney regarding that. Can we, or do we have to, we can't even record that meeting? It just seems unusual. We were not given the plume modeling. I did not receive the plume modeling that was we got this packet of information about how they plan to respond to any response, but we did not see the plume model. They haven't shared that with anyone yet, so that's the reason that we were charged $340 for an hour to talk to Tim about. Do we have the right to see to record the meeting? And he said, no, you probably shouldn't, if it's a federal guideline, so that's this one. The other one is shared, and when you look at those, that invoice, that's invoice matter number 10, and that's the one that is billed for the 7 counties that Allerton County is represented. And you'll see all the attention since January 16th. It all dealt with the briefs that Allerton County was filing on behalf of the 7 counties that are represented by them. And so that is the explanation of the current charges. And last week, I made the motion to defer consideration of these 2 invoices until we got an answer regarding a previous claim. And in your package, you'll see claim, it was actually the very first claim that we paid to Allerton County. And it was mentioned that there wasn't a date on some of those charges. And there was one charge that actually occurred prior to our accepting the contract and signing the contract with Allerton County on January 9th. And that was for a call that Tim Whipple made with me, talking about the supervisor's meeting agenda that was gonna happen on Monday. And so I asked Tim to review that. He did, and in your just shortly this morning, you received Tim's email where he reviewed it, and he is going to deduct that hour charge from now I'm looking at this one. We just got this email this morning. This contains the same information with the expenses that were in question. And that $350 charge for 1 hour of time for Mr. Whipple to talk to me prior to our meeting on the 9th. He has told Melanie Hunter Mark, that from Allerton County, to refund the 1 hour of time related to that call on January 7th, which was prior to our contracting with Allerton County. So I think that's very appropriate, that response. And so I kind of took this issue up just similar to what we did with Bolton Mink. I know Supervisor Kiefer had some concerns about the Bolton Mink charges, and we held up once we had those concerns addressed, we held up on paying for any future invoice till those were clarified. So I wanted to do the same for this issue. I think this clarifies and the issue that we shouldn't have paid for that. We all reviewed this claim initially and we agreed, okay, but looking back on it, probably that hour of phone call before we signed the agreement, we should have been charged for. So that's what this is doing. You'll be refunded for an hour, $350 for Whipple's time. So
You need a motion.
We do, questions, comments, but we were essentially just approving the two new invoices, but also recognizing that there will be an hour of time refunded for that hour, for that phone call on January 7th, 2023.
On the 9th, there's a charge for 191.26 for mileage.
Yeah,
And that was for the purpose to come here and sign a contract.
yes, it was. Remember, that was the first meeting that we had. We had a room full of people in the EOC, and it was a rather long meeting, and yes, their time for that meeting and for the mileage seems to be a legitimate expense to me because we signed the contract, so.
Yeah, it's seemed like after it's signed is when they start sending bills to me, but
I'll make a motion to approve the Ayers and Cooney TC bills as Mark explained for the decrease in our share of 6379.26. I think that's correct.
No,
No,
there are two claims, two invoices that we're considering to approve payment on today. And those are, one is for $1,962.16, and that's shared between 7 counties. The other is for $340 per, that I described earlier, only for Floyd County. That's the action item we're talking about, but that was held until we decided to clarify this question about this original claim. So,
what would the total amount be then? Be the 19,
yes, the total amount would be the two claims, $1,962.16 for the invoice and $340. We're also going to receive a refund of $340 for the charge that previously paid for and reviewed for services, a phone call prior to the date that we approved the contract with Allison for the services.
so the total is 1952.16 what we have to pay.
Yes,
So a bill for
Plus
340 and a credit for 340, right?
It's
No.
350.
Okay.
So it's 350 credit of refund.
Okay.
Like that.
Refund is 350.
so there are two invoices for services, and there is a agreement with Tim Whipples that was included in your packet that they will refund the county for that previous charge that we've already paid, that we already reviewed. And
So when that's correct, the payment's gonna amount to $1,602.16. Is that correct?
I think what Mark is saying, they want you to pay both of these new bills, and they're going to cut a check back to us.
That's right. Okay.
yeah, it's not like they're taking one off of these two invoices.
Okay, that's
They're just saying that they'll refund $350 for that previous invoice, part of the invoice that we've already paid.
So if you're, it's so that potentially your motion could be that you approve the Ayers and Cooney invoice for number 862,499 for $1,962.16, and invoice number 862,496 for $340, and note a refund will be coming for invoice 838,433 of $350. And to use ARPA dollars.
Yes, yes, we still have our dollars available. And that's the,
That all goes in one motion.
It could all be with one motion. Got it down
I
there.
was with you pretty good until you got to that last part of the refund and there wasn't a invoice number to
So the
chase
last
it
one,
with.
and note a refund on invoice number 838433 for $350. And to, I guess you could put the pay with the ARPA dollars on the first one, but just so it's clear, we want ARPA dollars used as well. You started the motion, so I don't.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to continue, but, so I'll redo the motion. Make a motion to approve the payment of $1,952.16 to Ocean County. Plus. Move to approve Ocean County invoice 862,489 for 1962.16 and invoice number 862,496 for $340. And note a refund of $350 for January 7, 2023 charge and use ARPA funds.
Did you repeat the motion? I'll second.
yes, Auditor, would you repeat the motion so we all understand?
I sure will.
Thank you.
Put this invoice number. Okay, so move to approve Ayers and Cooney invoice number 862,499 for $1,962.16 and invoice number 862,496 for $340. And note a refund on invoice number 848,544 for $350 for a January 7th, 2023 charge. And to pay for new charges with American Rescue.
Thank you. Further discussion? No. I do appreciate Auditor Carr's comments that were on the motion, questioning this expense. We looked it up and I think it's proper to do such, and they completely agree at Alex. So those in favor of the, is there any comment from anyone listening on the phone calling line? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Thank you. Next item 10, review and action regarding Allers and Cooney increasing monthly fees for human resources service or paying for services on an hourly basis. And that was another really interesting topic. It came up after our budget discussions this year. It would have been better had we got this letter earlier, but we didn't. And what it amounts to is our charge. We have been charged a flat rate charge. The county has and secondary roads department has for the services of Allers and Cooney. These are human resources services regarding jobs and negotiations with secondary roads contracts. And so they have decided they want to increase those fees for the services. The email, I believe, in your packet, or the letter that's in the packet says those haven't been changed since 2014. And they want to increase that fee for service from
$750 to $1,500.
yes, from $750 to $1,500. And so we have that choice, or we could go to a flat fee. And it certainly is cost efficient, I believe, to stay in contract, keep that contract, because when you start getting into some of these issues, they can eat up a lot of time in a short period of time. But where's it going to come out of the budget? We've already approved the tax levy for the budget, so it has to come out of something. So we asked the county engineer, if he had what amounts to $4,000 in his budget to cover those additional costs, it would be $4,000 for the secondary road department. And in our budget, it amounts to how much?
500 a month. So.
500 of us. So, I asked Jacob if he did, he got back to me. And here's his email. It says, I will be able to make the Allers and Cooney increase work with my budget. Please let me know if you need anything else. So he's gonna be able to find $4,000 in his budget to cover this cost of services. And what we have to do at this stage. And for Floyd County, Hunter Carter, he said there was $20,000 allotted for the total
Consulting services.
consulting services. So you explain where we're getting that out of our budget.
Yeah, that's in your Department 51, and that's covered things like, the cost advisory services that are provided are around $6,000, $6,450, I believe, comes out of that budget. That's the one that gives us the discount or the an indirect cost for DHS, child support recovery. So that's paid out of Department 51. And then it's just if you had any other services, such as when you're done with ARPA dollars for the pipeline thing, that's likely where that pipeline services are going to come from. So depending what that's going to be, once we're done with ARPA dollars, I'm not sure. We might have to amend that line item from 20,000. But we've paid for, that's the one we paid for when we had litigation against Prochaska. We paid for the attorneys that we hired for that claim to come out of that. That line item. Trying to think of other things. We've had studies paid for that out of the past. So it's 20,000, and again, depending where it may need to be an amended line item at some time if that total fund can't absorb an overage in the line item. A line item can go over, it's just the total department can't. But the other, as Mark said, the other option in here is to pay an hourly rate of Mike's services for $340 or Ann Smith's services for $300. But I have said for some time that we've gotten a lot of bang for a buck out of that $750. And this is no surprise to me that these are going up. And any department head can use Ehlers and Cooney services if they have a personnel issue. I think that $340 and or $300 could add up pretty fast in one claim, one personnel issue. So I think that what Mark's talked about of that new 1,500 charge, if you go with that flat rate, would be or flat monthly rate would be 500 out of secondary roads and 1,000 out of general. So it doubles what each are paying, but it's not bad.
Is Ehlers and Cooney the only attorney? Who do we work with for human resources? What's his name?
Primarily, we
That
work with
is
two
Mike
people.
Galloway.
Mike Galloway.
Yeah, that's who the letter's from.
Yeah, okay.
And he has an assistant we also work with a lot.
Yes. Ann Smithsick has been one, and then there's also been at times when both of them have been busy, and we've had Austin or someone else that it's helped as well. And it's nice that I can go back in time. I don't remember, Mark, if you were over here when we had Paul Groove.
Yes,
But you had one person, and we had a time where he was out of service for several weeks. And the nice thing about having Ehlers Cooney is there's someone that's gonna be able to jump on a issue, rather than depending on just one person. Because that's all there in that office with Paul Greer Services, he was the one and only person. And there's other firms that do the same type of thing. I know that others that have used Ehlers and Cooney, I've had other auditors that have contacted me and said, you know, we're looking at other services, who do you recommend? I recommended them oftentimes. And they've come back to me with what their charges are going to be. And we've been getting by a long time with a low charge.
I wasn't questioning that, I was just wondering.
Yeah.
So.
I would, if we're thinking, I would recommend that we do the $1,500 a month starting July 1st.
I will make a motion to approve the increasing monthly fee for human resources services or paying for $1,500 per month. Neighbors are Cooney.
You might add to that 500 be paid per month out of secondary roads and $1,000.
$1,000 coming from general fund and $500 per month out of secondary roads.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Supervisor Kiefer to approve the Allers and Cooney monthly fee for human resources fee for Floyd County with $1,000 coming from the county's general fund and $500 from the secondary roads fund. Is there motion in a second? Is there further discussion? Comment from anyone listening on the phone line? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion is carried. Item 11, note the hiring of the county attorney administrative assistant. County Attorney Pritchard has hired Allison Hocking. She's going to start work today. I just got to meet her briefly in the auditor's office, and he is starting her pay at $20 an hour. So after a successful 6 months review, I expect most likely a request to increase her pay by a certain amount. She's again around the courthouse. She's getting some new employee orientation today, but she might be here, and glad that we've got somebody set into that. Item 12, future agenda items.
EMS, I guess, want to know what this board wants to have them present. I know there's 4 items maybe that they, obviously the ballot date, whether November or September. Is there more that you want with that presentation or with their recommendation rather? Tax source and that type of thing, you want that to be.
Well, I realized I listened to part of their meeting the other day, and they wanted to have a decision soon regarding the date.
Yeah,
And so, I know you requested through Auditor Carter to have that on our agenda today, that just about the date. And, it was just a little too soon, in my opinion, to have a turnaround discussion about that. We haven't even approved the minutes of our meeting, and, I think we need to see the minutes from that meeting of the advisory council. But, I know they want that decision, and discussion soon so they can plan for their
target date.
their target date. And I think we can put that on our agenda for next week. Certainly by that time, their minutes will be published, people can talk about it. The minutes of today's meeting or last week's meeting that we approved will likely appear in the North Springs Rockford Register, so people will know that this is an issue we're talking about. Auditor Carr sends the meetings to the press and to the paper, they publish them when they would like to, but they almost always have them in the next week, so there will be a certain. So people who are interested in this will know that we're taking action, so I plan to put that portion of it on. Of that on, just about the date, which is what I understood they asked for. They wanna know, we can have that discussion and take action on that next Monday.
Okay,
As far as the other question, and I know they asked about what's all included and. You know, they can,
we'll
we
find that
can
way.
talk more, a little bit more about that. I think they wanted that date discussion up front, so.
Yeah, I would like that a lot.
Sure. We'll plan on that for next Monday.
Okay,
I visited, landfill off by the fairgrounds this weekend, Saturday morning, and the lady that works out there recognized me and asked if there could be any consideration given to being open every other Saturday out there. She has to work every Saturday. And the only time that she has a fill in is if she's on vacation. So I told her that I would bring it up and see if anything could be done. I don't know if that's up to Jacob, secondary roads or. But that's what, they're closed every Monday. I don't know if there could be some consideration given to being open on Monday when they're closed on Saturdays, or if that would be too complicated or not. So, something to think about. I don't know if it needs to be an agenda item, but I told her I would check into it and. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing.
All right. Yeah, first of all, I just suggested she or you talk to the engineer about that. And before it comes to before a board of supervisor, oftentimes it's good to discuss that with the department head before it comes to our desk for a final decision.
I'll visit with Jacob about it.
All right. And yes,
I don't know if you've, when you get your reports from Lexi, you know, you did a 90% appropriation. Several of those are getting close to that 90% level, so we'll probably start needing to do some resolutions to bump some of those up.
all right. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. Want to make sure we do that before that goes over.
Yeah.
All right. Any other future agenda items to discuss?
I have not.
No, okay.
Next meeting is, Friday is to adjourn.
Make motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, motion by Supervisor, Jorgensen, second by Keith, to adjourn. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you. We are adjourned.